So what we're going to be looking at in Adobe Animate is the camera feature. The camera feature is very, very powerful and it can do lots of different things. Now, why do you need a camera? Well, pretty simple. Just like any Pixar or any 2D animation or even like a real film or motion picture with real characters and all that sort of stuff. And a camera allows us to look at action, follow it, allows us to really look at the character's face by zooming in, and it kind of creates this kind of effect or ambiance that gets the viewer really engaged in it. Now, I have this awesome Rube Goldberg that a student did, and he does incorporate cameras. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play it, and then we're going to take you through the camera work and discuss how it's really helping with the actual animation itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this animation here. And as it's spooling up, you'll see the opening screen. And I'll make this a little bigger so you can see it. So we have the scene and nothing's really happening with the camera right now. And then all of a sudden, after this ball sort of falls into the chute, you're going to see that it's starting to track right and continuing to track right to follow all the action. Now it's dollying up, blowing, tracking right, and really zooming in and capturing all that attention. It looks great. So now what we're doing is we're tracking left and zooming in till kabang. So that's what a camera does, is really kind of creates this neat effect. So let's go ahead and actually look at using cameras in Adobe Animate. And as we do so, it's a very simple process. It's literally the process of using the camera button, creating a motion tween, and then setting the camera in different places. Now, I'm not going to interrupt the camera work that's already here. I'm just going to add to it and support to it more than anything else. So first of all, let's begin. Now, looking right over here at this camera icon, we have to make sure that it's not grayed out. If it is grayed out, we have to just make one quick setting, and then you're good to go off of that. So I'm just going to go into the Modify, and I'm going to go into the document here. And under the document, this little box pops up, and it says Mode, Use Advanced Layers. Make sure this is checked off, and click on OK. Save your Adobe Animate file, exit out, and go back in, and then this button will be grayed out. So that's the first step, only if this button is grayed out. So the next thing that we have to do in Adobe Animate is actually add our camera. We're going to do it on the very, very first scene here because we know it doesn't actually have a camera. So in order to make that happen, you'll notice the camera button, and I'm going to click on this, and when I do that, you're going to see that it adds a camera layer. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Now, you'll see that this is the frame of the camera, and you'll notice that this is actually the toolbar to zoom in or out or maybe move left or right or whatever that might mean. All right, so now over here you'll see that I have a whole bunch of empty keyframes with the camera. So let's go ahead and right-click to create a motion tween with this camera. And there's my motion tween right over here. Now, taking my playhead, I'm just going to actually just go over to frame number 15. I'm just going to play with a slider because what we want to do is we want to sort of zoom in. And I want to focus on the character a little bit, so I'm going to left click and hold my mouse button, and I'm just going to kind of move over here. So if I scrub my playhead, you can see the motion. I'm zooming in and I'm tracking slightly to the right. And now it's holding there just like that. Okay? Now if I want to even zoom in a little bit further here, I can sort of play with this little slider. And doing so, I'm just going to just sort of track this out. Now this is the playable frame right over here. So in doing so, I'm going to go Control-Enter again. And now you're going to see how this scene differs from the very first one that we played. And you can see that the camera actually adds effects. Now, supposedly I actually wanted the camera to actually start a little bit later on, and I didn't want it to come on right away. So I'm just going to go Control-Z or Edit Undo and just get rid of all of that. Okay. So what I would do again is I would click on my camera layer, and here it is. Now in doing that, what I'm going to do, if I want my camera work to start a little bit later, I'm just going to just put my playhead right over here and right click, and what I want to do is I want to actually insert a keyframe. Now you'll notice that all of this is copied from here to here, and this is now a separate section because it's almost spliced our timeline. So from here, what I want to do is I definitely want to add my camera, starting right over here. So let's go ahead, right click, and create that motion tween. Now remember, a tween has a starting position, maybe another position right over here, and the computer does everything in between. That's why we call it a tween. So let me just move this over here, and we're going to now start playing with the camera work. Notice that a dot will be added in here, which is a reference to the position as I start to actually zoom in and I start to track a little bit down and to the right. That dot has been added. Now coming over here almost to the end here, I'm going to do that a little bit more. I'm going to start zooming in and let's focus on that character. So let's go ahead and scrub that playhead. Okay, now let's play this from the beginning, and what you'll notice here is nothing happens for the first second and a bit, and then the camera starts to activate because you can see the motion tween is initiated at this point. So another Control-Enter. So we have that pause, and then it starts to go. All right, so that's, using the camera at a very basic level in terms of timing, zooming in. We can certainly zoom out. We can track up or down, dolly up and down. We can track left or right. Now I'm going to go to the last scene here where we know we actually have that explosion. And on that explosion, what we need to do is we need to maybe rock the camera a little bit just to sort of see what's going on here. And so I'm going to go to scene 12. And we know that the camera is already zooming in. And as soon as it hits, what we're going to do is we're going to rock that frame back and forth. And we're going to do that right about here. Now our camera is already added because we can see that layer. And so it's just a matter of just adjusting what's actually going on. So instead of actually just going ahead here to do the zoom, I'm going to actually flip it. And now what I'm actually able to do is I'm actually able to then go ahead and rock this frame back and forth like an explosion, just by doing the slider and having this enabled. Now coming over here, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to rock it the opposite way. And one more time. Let's go like that. A little more, I guess. And like that. Now let's scrub the playhead. Zooming in, all of a sudden, right when it makes contact and explodes, you can see that it's rocking back and forth. I was probably a little bit too early on the explosion, but you can figure out your own timing. You can add your own camera for effect. It's easy, and Adobe makes it a lot of fun to do so. So give that a try and make sure that you integrate that into your animation. So good luck with that, and I'll see you in the next video.